Hey everybody, the title of this video isn't ambiguous at all, and I'll just kind of cut straight to the point. My name is Michael and I'm gay, and I've struggled with my sexuality for my entire life, and until recently I've not been able to share that with anybody, and now I'm sort of doing it in a very, very public way, but it's part of a bigger movement. There's so many people out there who are struggling or who are going through the same struggle that I did when I was younger, and they're turning to destructive paths where they're hurting themselves or they're thinking about taking their lives. And I just want to start out by saying that if you are one of those people and you're watching this video, that you are so much more than a binary. You're so much more than someone who just fits in a box, whether they're socially acceptable or religiously acceptable. There are people who are out there that love you and that want to befriend you and that want to share in your story, and I hope that you find some comfort as I share my story with you. I started struggling or realizing that my sexuality didn't fit in with the social norms or the religious norms at the end of middle school, towards the beginning of high school, but I suppressed it as best as I could because I, in my heart of hearts, thought that it was wrong. I was taught that it was wrong and that what I was feeling wasn't accepted or acceptable to the people around me or to God or whatever, just that what I was feeling was not right. And I held that in, and I bottled it up, and I tried to put it at the back of my mind. I tried to erase it from my mind, but no matter what I did, no matter how hard I prayed, no matter who I tried to date, I could never get over this fact. And it wasn't until recently I tried to start a relationship with someone because I thought if we just had everything in common, we liked all the same things, that it would work out and it would be fine, but it wasn't. And I hit a wall, and the wall that I hit was that I've been lying to the people I've had relationships with, and anybody who I've even spoken to about my relationships. I've been lying, or I had been lying, and that hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt horrible. I actually physically got sick once I realized that, and I came to a point where I made the decision that I needed to tell someone, and so I started making a list, and the first person on that list was my best friend, then my younger sister, then one of my older sisters, and then I would go from there, and I wasn't really sure. So I told my best friend November 22nd of 2013, after we had gone out to eat. I made up this reason that I wanted to come visit because he lives an hour away, and we went out to eat, and I thought about telling him there, and then it was not a good spot if you're contemplating how to come out or when to tell people or where to tell people. Don't do it in a public way, don't do it in a restaurant or anything like that. Personally, at least, that's my experience. So I was sitting there at the restaurant with this just weight on my shoulders, and I didn't want to tell him there, and then I got in the car and I was about to drop him off his house before I came back home, and then I realized, like, this is why I came here. I drove here just to do this, and I finally just said it. And it was odd because I hadn't said out loud that I was gay until that day on my way to visit him. I practiced it in the car, and it felt totally foreign to me. And even when I told him, it felt very weird because I'd never said that before. I had been suppressing this side of me and this side of who I was for so long that admitting it and saying it out loud felt very odd, but at the same time it felt very real and it felt very honest. And I knew that I was finally letting this part of me go, or letting this part of me show through. And yes, he was surprised, he was taken aback, but at the same time his biggest concern was, you know, if I was happy, and he said he'd support me and gave me a big hug, and that kind of gave me the motivation and the drive and the confidence to continue my story. Luckily, my family was very accepting. I knew most of my siblings would be, but I wasn't sure about my parents. I was raised in a Catholic home in a small town, Midwest, so I was hesitant. I didn't know how things were going to go. I was nervous. I was very nervous, especially for my mom. But I over Thanksgiving, we had kind of time to ourselves, and I brought my sister, who I'd already told, because in my personal experience, it's nice to have somebody there who knows what you're going to say and who's supportive of you, especially if you're telling your parents, just in case ideas need to be bounced off one another. And they were so gracious. They were totally okay with it. My mom just smiled and laughed and was like, you know what, that's fine, that's totally fine. And my dad was like way more concerned with the fact that he ate too much for Thanksgiving that night, but he was very sweet about it too. The rest of my family was relatively okay with it. I knew that I had a few people who were very, very conservative and had religious ideologies that I was going to come in conflict with. And if that's going to happen to any of you who are possibly watching this video, hear them out and be respectful. But for me, I wanted to also let them know that they could say those things and that their thoughts and ideas were out there, but that didn't mean that anything was going to change within me, especially having taken this long for me to come to terms with this. I wanted them to know that I appreciated them saying those things, and I respected their opinion, but I also wanted them to respect me as a human and my life, just my life and who I was. And that has seemed to work so far. The hard thing about coming out for me was definitely the religious beliefs that I held, and reconciling what I'd been told the Bible says, or what I'd been told by religious leaders, etc., about homosexuality. If you're struggling with your sexuality and how it relates to religion, I will be putting my email in the description box below, as well as my social media sites. Feel free to contact me, and I can share the knowledge that I've pursued on the subject. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go into too much detail with it in this video because I'm trying to keep this relatively short and simple and sweet. But the last thing I want you to know is that no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter where you grew up, no matter who your parents are, no matter who your friends are, no matter what you want to do with your life, that you are beautiful and perfect and loved just the way you are, and you don't need to change for anybody. You just need to be true to yourself as best as you know how. Part of the reason I'm making this video, and part of the reason, or most of the reason I even made a YouTube channel in general, is that I was inspired by other people on YouTube who have shared their stories, their coming out stories with the world, and the positive response that they've received from people, and the comments of people who have said that, you know, this video really changed the way that I viewed myself, or this video helped me come out to my parents. I hope to have a similar impact, if possible, if anybody feels like they can relate to this, or they struggled with the same thing, I'm here and I'm available and I'm wanting to help and become a part of this community of people who are willing to share their stories and interact with people who don't have anybody to turn to. I want to thank a couple of people that inspired me to make this video. That would be Mark Miller, Ethan Heathcote, The Not Adam, David Levitz, and the biggest one honestly is probably Bushu37. Bushu just celebrated his 1 year anniversary of coming out online. He made a video. He wants to start this campaign called This Is My Story, and that is what this video is about. It's about people sharing their story and having strength in numbers of people to show that there is love and acceptance and friendship and a life to be had for those who feel like this struggle is so heavy and it's such a burden on their shoulders. And I want you to just let you know that it gets better. You were worth it. There are a lot of people that are here for you, wanting to help you out. I hope you found this video to be helpful or inspiring. I hope to make videos in the future about LGBTQ issues, and this is sort of the starting point. So thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.